In this problem, we're told that 5 pulse rates are randomly selected from a set of measurements, and those rates have a mean of 64.4 beats per minute. 4 of the pulse rates are given, and those are 66, 68, 82, and 52. So the first part of the question asks us to find the missing value. And I can do that by saying, well, what is the sum of the 4 values? So if we add up those first 4 values, they add up to 268. From that, I can use the formula for mean to say that x bar is going to equal the sum of those first 4 values, which is 268, plus the one unknown value that we have remaining. And if we divide that by 5, which is the number of values, then that should equal 64.4. And by using algebra, I can start by multiplying both sides by 5, and that gives me 268 plus x equals 64.4 times 5. And then I'll subtract 268 from both sides. And I find that x equals 64.4 times 5 minus 268, which turns out to be 54. So if I know the sum of the first 4 values and I know the mean, then I can find that one remaining value from the list. And in this case, that turns out to be 54. So what I'm really concerned with in this problem is determining what happens if we want to create a list of n values. So what if we're not specifying how many values there are in particular? Maybe in one problem there's 100 values, and in another problem there's 500 values. In another one, maybe there's just 7 values. So whatever it happens to be, that have a specific known mean. So if I know how many values there are, I know what the mean is, then how many of the n values can be freely selected, and how many of the n values would be determined by the rest of the n values. So we want to know how many can be freely assigned before the remaining value or values are determined. So what we saw in this case was that when there were 5 values, we had to know the sum of the first 4. So it was only the very last value that was absolutely determined by the mean and the sum of the first 4 values. So what we can determine from that is, suppose there were 100 values, then I could freely select the first 99 values, but the 100th value is going to be determined by the mean and the sum of the first 99. So what I want to select here is choice C. Of the n values, n minus 1 can be freely selected because the remaining 1 value, they don't have you fill that in, but that's how many. So n minus 1 plus 1 gives you the total of n values. So that one remaining value can be expressed in terms of the assigned values, so that n minus 1 list, and the known mean. So that's what you would do to answer this question.